Why Niagara Escarpment Plan Amendment PW2-1820 represents an incursion into the Greenbelt, and why it matters. What is NEPA PW2-1820? PW2-1820 is an application seeking to amend the Niagara Escarpment Plan to permit 2 properties located in the Greenbelt be used as a private secondary school with a maximum of 1,000 students and 85 staff. PW2-1820 is the reference number for this application. The development permit application associated with PW2-1820 is seeking permission to construct a gymnasium and expand a private on-site sewage treatment system. Note that this photograph is of significant woodlands, adjacent to 574 Northcliffe Avenue. What does incursion into the Greenbelt mean? Since the properties are in Hamilton, we look to the City of Hamilton for our terms of reference. The city doesn't appear to use the term incursion in a single standalone policy document with its own dedicated definition. Instead, we believe incursions into the provincially protected Greenbelt are implicitly described through the city's official plans and related planning policies. As we see it, an incursion into the Greenbelt is any effort by the province or private interests to extract or subvert Greenbelt lands for urban development, without going through the proper local or provincial level process of amendment. It's important to highlight, a key characteristic of an incursion is skipping local or provincial planning processes. This is the case this presentation is about to make. The property is in the Greenbelt. The effort is by private interest. The proposed development is urban. Provincial level process is being skipped. Therefore, the application is an incursion into the Greenbelt, and as such, it must not be permitted. As stated in the Greenbelt Act, the Greenbelt area includes the Niagara Escarpment Plan area, shown on NEP Maps 1 through 9. This is a portion of Map 2, showing the Dundas area. While some portions of Dundas are not in the Niagara Escarpment Plan area, Pleasant View is within the area. The land that relates to the application is within the Pleasant View area. The land related to the application is not only in the Greenbelt, it is within the land use designation Escarpment Rural Area. The importance of this designation will be addressed later in this presentation. The applicant is Columbia Northcliffe Campus Inc., a corporation. Corporations are fundamentally private interest entities because they exist to serve the goals of their owners and investors, rather than the collective public. While subject to regulations and taxes, corporations owe fiduciary duties to private stakeholders, not all citizens. Decisions flow from private capital interests, not public mandate. The proposed use is a private school. Private schools are quintessentially private interests, because they operate and design their offerings around the specific needs and contributions of fee-paying families and private stakeholders. In contrast, public schools, funded by taxpayers, governed by elected bodies, and open to all students, exist to advance collective welfare and social equity, embodying the public interest. Columbia Northcliffe Campus Incorporated, also known as Columbia International College, is financed entirely through tuition and private donations, with oversight by an independent board, rather than elected public bodies. Approximately 95% of CIC's students are international students. Approximately 98% of the students pay for boarding. For a typical student to attend CIC, it costs the family approximately $30,000 per year. CIC limits enrollment to those who meet academic criteria and can afford its programs, unlike public schools' universal mandate. CIC tailors academic and student services to stakeholder priorities and international markets, rather than broader societal needs. Its primary mission is to cater to fee-paying families worldwide, not to fulfill local public education objectives. By depending on private revenue, enforcing selective enrollment, and focusing on stakeholder-driven programs, CIC advances private rather than public interests. Note, although some corporations may align with public goals, like commercial schools aligning with education, their legal and financial engines remain rooted in private interest logic. Ontario's provincial planning statement defines development as creation of a new lot, a change in land use, or the construction of buildings and structures, requiring approval under the Planning Act. It is clear, the application is seeking development. When we ask whether development is urban or rural, the most fundamental distinguishing factor isn't geography or parcel size, it's the purpose for which the land is used. Land use designations, found in the Rural Hamilton Official Plan and the Urban Hamilton Official Plan, identify where and under what circumstances specific land uses are permitted. In many cases, land uses, such as single detached dwellings, are suitable as both urban and rural development. And in some cases, land uses, such as farming operations, are suitable as one type of development, and not the other without a planning amendment. Nowhere in the RHOP are schools permitted except for schools directly serving the rural community. Given this condition, it is fair to infer that schools beyond small, community-scale schools are not permitted in rural areas without a planning amendment. In contrast, the UHOP has various land use designations, which permit secondary schools. For example, but not limited to, institutional, downtown mixed use, and mixed-use high density, all permitting secondary schools. It is clear, based on this contrast, that all schools beyond small-scale schools, such as a secondary school for up to 1,000 students, are urban development. Regardless if one believes the application has merit, important provincial-level process is being skipped. 6.1.2.2 of the NEPDA restricts applications requesting to amend the Niagara Escarpment Plan if the application relates to land that is within the land use designation escarpment rural area, and the application seeks to permit an urban use. As confirmed earlier in this presentation, the land related to the application is indeed within the designation escarpment rural area. To emphasize, no person or public body shall make an application to amend the NEP if the application relates to land that is within the land use designation escarpment rural area, and the application seeks to permit an urban use. Most recently in 2023, NEC staff found the proposed amendment does indeed constitute an urban use, and should therefore be deferred to the next provincial plan review. In performing analysis on whether the application constitutes an urban use, NEC staff considered the Commission's policy on urban uses. This is NEC's policy interpretation for urban uses, made to administer Section 6.1.2.2 of the NEPDA. We agree with NEC staff that the application seeks to permit an urban use, based on the definition of urban use in this policy. As NEC staff pointed out in 2023, urban use includes institutional land uses, and the proposed school is an institutional use. Furthermore, although not pointed out by NEC staff, we believe that the proposed school meets the definition of urban use, also based on Item I of this policy. Item I indicates uses that would normally be found within a designation in a municipal official plan for an area of settlement are urban uses. Based on the reasoning provided earlier in this presentation, we believe a secondary school is an urban use, given it is a use found only within designations for areas of settlement in the UHOP, and not the RHOP. The provincial review process, referred to by NEC staff in its report, is the only exception to NEPDA's restriction regarding urban use applications. NEPDA intends such applications only be considered during a comprehensive provincial review. This review is an important provincial process that must be followed for urban use applications related to land designated escarpment rural area. Despite the finding of NEC staff in 2023, the Commission decided to forward on the application, as well as the associated development permit application, to the Ontario Land Tribunal. A case management conference is scheduled for August 26, 2025. By allowing the OLT to consider the application, the application can circumvent an important provincial process. Based on the reasoning provided, we believe the application is an incursion into the Greenbelt. Why this is important? During an NEC meeting in 2021, a commissioner brought forward a motion that would have urban amendments, for lands within NEP urban designations, be considered outside of coordinated provincial plan reviews. That motion resulted in this NEC staff report that concludes the following, quote, "If the Commission were to consider allowing site-specific urban use amendments to proceed outside of an NEP review, one has to consider if this is in keeping with provincial policy intent. Allowing for the consideration of urban uses outside of existing settlement areas is in effect allowing for leapfrog development and is a form of sprawl." End quote. Quote, "It should be considered whether the piecemeal allocation of land for anything other than agriculture-related, small-scale institutional or low-impact recreational land uses in the non-urban NEP designations can meet the purpose and objectives of the NEP." End quote. Quote, "In summary, the considerations regarding NEP urban amendments are much broader than the policies contained in the NEPDA and NEP. Allowing for urban amendments to proceed at any time would result in a policy framework for the NEP area that has less rigor than what is applied elsewhere in southern Ontario." End quote. For these reasons, it is very important to not allow the provincial review process, set out in NEPDA, to be skipped regarding the application. Thank you for watching this presentation.